Hello and welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa. I am your hostess, the consultress, here bringing you innovative conversations from the front lines of entrepreneurship. Because in this age of disruption, where nothing's going back to normal and everything is up for review and to be renewed, the people who are pushing those boundaries and creating the value in the gap that is widening is entrepreneurs. So I have the pleasure and the privilege to have one of the most amazing men on the planet here in my forum. We met once upon a time in a growth trajectory with a common mentor, and it's just a pleasure to have you here, Ron. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. We did meet in a digital forum. Like this age of disruption has brought in a lot of this hybrid spaces where I'm now meeting people from all over the planet. When I
Mhm.
first met you, you were not living in the United States, and then you made a transition. A lot of the folks I have had the privilege to talk to have made some fairly awesome transitions in their life. But I'd love to first start with, what are you passionate about? And what are you up to in your business that is creating that flow and that transformation right there on the growth edge of the world?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So as far as what I'm really passionate about, I guess the answer there is I'm really, really passionate about many things, but the ones that are coming to mind for the purpose of this discussion, I'm really into business growth and personal growth, kind of business optimization and personal optimization. And so really kind of like what I do in my business, really what I do in my business is that I'm essentially, I view my role as essentially like a leader of leaders. And most of my clients, they're almost all coaches, experts, consultant types. And I really help them, like kind of what I publicly like the service that I provide essentially is business coaching. So what
Mm.
I'm selling outwardly is essentially business growth, but really a big part of what I do is helping them optimize their lives and optimize kind of like their effectiveness, their productivity, their mindset, and things like that. So I
Mm.
really feel as though my kind of sweet spot is kind of like the intersection between growth and personal growth. And I'm really just excited about kind of like merging those two and helping all of my clients to become fully actualized human beings.
Oh, I love that. And see, this is why we're friends, right? If you're top heavy in the analytical, practical, you're probably missing out on your personal, spiritual, and leadership development. And if you're way too woo or you're way too into all the relationship touchy feely, you might be missing a bit of the tactic, right? Do you help to people to kind of integrate and come into balance with those two pieces?
That's quite accurate because the majority of my clients are women, about 90%, maybe these days, uh, let's say 90%.
Yeah.
And so a big part of my secret sauce is that I really have that kind of like strategic analytical mind. I kind of joke that I used to be I'm a former marketing sociopath. I'm a former bro marketer. I was actually a bro marketer before that was a term. I got started back in 2007, to be honest. But I'm a former bro marketer that speaks that language, but also speaks the language of the woo essentially and of personal development, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're singing my song right here. The reason why I feel like we connected and vibe together is that, without the being in business, you don't get to the doing. And without the doing, there really is no point of being in business, right? So to have them out of whack is kind of like a very typical entrepreneur thing. So when people
Hmm.
join an existing company, they get to be who they are inside of another structure. But
Hmm.
when you're in entrepreneurship, you're always developing the balance in between who you're showing up as, like you as an emerging person, as a leader, what your growth curve is, and what are you doing that is of value and service to others that allows them to open up their checkbooks and send money to you, right? So
Hmm.
there has to be that ebb and flow and that balance between um, who you are, right? Because people only do business with folks that they know, like, and trust, and what it is that you do. Because if you're, not great at executing and providing that value, you could be the best person on the planet, and that's not going to work for you. So,
Yeah.
do you? And so for me, and I won't put you on the spot. I'll say for myself, I found business to be the number one growth provoking attribute in my entire life. Like it's been the thing that has prodded me to go through uncomfortable things and address myself in a larger way that created the person that stands before you that is not done growing. Have you found something similar in your own life, like to be the work, you have to also kind of be a product of the work too?
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree that I've heard a smart person say a few years ago that the three biggest growth exercises you can do, not in any particular order, are owning a business, running a business, being an entrepreneur. Let's say that's one category. Second category is being in a relationship, and the third category is being a parent. So yeah, the both of us have all three.
Ding,
So
ding,
we're just
ding.
we're totally performing at a high level, 100%.
Are we optimizing ourselves? I would say yes. So speaking of transitions and kind of checking off all those boxes, I ran to entrepreneurship first, and I gathered a partner along the way that then made us parents. So we were just talking in the pre-production room about how fast and unwittingly it can come to you. Like for me, it came fast and furious over the period of 2 to 3 years. Uh,
Hmm.
so, and now I just want to say congratulations publicly. I know
Thank you
you
so
have
much.
just started a family. How is that affecting you in your work and how you're informing yourself now that you are a parent?
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, for those of you who are not listening in on the room would be no one who no one at this point is yeah, I just my daughter April, she's gonna turn 2 months old on in 2 days. So it's a as we're recording this. So yeah, I'm a new parent, and yeah, that was definitely a long. I'm 44 years old, so I technically a little bit later than a little bit of a early, late bird when it comes to being a parent. But anyways, to answer your question, yeah, I mean it's only been a couple months, but it's definitely been an adjustment for sure. It's as any new parent would know, any parent would know that when you because I'm a very kind of obsessive when it comes to planning my schedule, planning my days out to like the decimal down to the minute. So it's definitely been an adjustment from going to like being super totally having complete control over my schedule, with of course some exceptions, to then having a child where there's just sometimes I might have my grand plans for doing XYZ in the next hour or so, but then little April might have other plans. So yeah, it's definitely been it's definitely been an adjustment, and I actually feel as though that, my productivity hasn't really, this is early stages, so I'm still kind of like figuring out my rhythm, but I'm quite confident that as things progress, I really believe that, over these next few months, I'm probably gonna be more productive and effective than ever before, just because having a child, being a parent, it just forces you to be that much more intentional with your time and being that much more effective with the hours that you do have, so I'm excited to see how that evolves.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I had a similar experience when I first became a wife, mother, and entrepreneur kind of all at the same time. Well, not the entrepreneur part, but anyway, it felt like I had so much less time available, yet I was executing at a level that I never dreamed possible to them because it was like, well, I have to get all of this stuff done in
Mhm,
order to provide for me, my sanity, my family now. You can't have a toddler without having to make sure that your floor is clean. And
mhm.
so I'm actually watching a friend of mine go through this transition who I've helped move house a bunch of times and kind of live in a state of chaos that was like manageable chaos. Now that the baby's here, the chaos looks a lot more calm. And she doesn't have any
Mhm,
more hours in the day. She actually has less now. So that I love what you said about it. It makes you focus on the most top priority things by default rather so than as a nice to get
mhm.
to, which we often spend 80% of our time procrastinating, let's be honest. We are masters of self-deception, humans. And so, yeah, I also found increasing productivity is just an increase in the number of things top of mind that are really important. It makes it very clear to distinguish what is distraction versus what is development.
Mhm. Absolutely. We are on the same page for sure.
Yeah. So what do you have in the hopper? What are you working on? What's emerging for you right now in your life and your work?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, always a lot of fun things going on. I think the big thing is I've actually been running live events through I ran my first live event at the end of 2017, and I've essentially done at least 3 live in-person events a year since then. So it's, they're kind of adding up over the years. So yeah, really doubling down on doing more live events. I have a virtual event that's going to be coming up later on this month, and then I have at least 2 live in-person events that are going to be happening later on this year. And then next year, I didn't do it this year because of the having the child thing, but every year other than this year, I have a really cool event that I do in Colombia, South America, that I've done every year since 2015. And I'm excited. In 2025, we're going to be going back to Colombia. We're going to be doing this event. It's going to be on the coast. It's going to be on the coast in Cartagena. We're going to be doing it on an island. It's going to be very epic. So that is one thing that it's kind of like a North Star. I'm really excited about that. It'll basically happen about 12 and a half months from now. So I'm really excited about getting a really cool group of entrepreneurs together on this amazing island and having an excellent upgraded experience. So yeah, those are a few of the things that are on the in addition to being a parent, but that's kind of those are some things that I'm excited about coming up.
Yeah, right on. So live events, what I noticed when we went into the hybrid world was that I hadn't realized how much of my extroversion was adaptive. And while I consider myself a people person, I realized that I needed a lot more reflective time to be that
Hmm.
person.
Hmm.
So now that we've had this hybrid universe, I'm finding for me hosting live events in like a curated way online has been a lot more fulfilling for me. Like, for example, I volunteer with the Canfield organization to train in the back of their room to help people process and have breakthroughs, what have you. Being certified in the work, it's a way that I tithe my time. And when they moved to virtual, I was like, oh my God, I was born for this.
Hmm.
Like it
Hmm.
just felt like bringing that personal touch to a screen that is sometimes very intimidating and or sterile to a lot of
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
So I had found a lot of stride in online live virtual events. And I do host a bunch of those. But tell me more about what it takes to produce live events. It's always been something that intrigues me because I am my own worst enemy when it comes to sometimes being chief cook and bottle washer. So
Hmm.
I've always wanted to do a live event, but I feel I've done a few of them here and there. Um, but I am altogether fascinated and a little bit intimidated by people who do it well. So can you share a little bit about what you've learned in crafting and enjoying producing these kind of events?
Yeah. And to be fair, like the biggest events I've done have had about 50 people or so. So most of my events will have anywhere between 20 to 50 people. I
Mhm.
am not the kind of I would like to at some point. I'm not one of these people that does events with, hundreds and hundreds of or thousands and thousands of people, just to kind of give you a little bit of context there. But
Mhm.
yeah, so it's kind of what was the question again? I know it was basically
Hosting, you said you do 3 times a year hosting a live and in-person event. Just some
mhm.
wisdom from the road there of what you've learned that works,
Okay,
and
good.
what
Yeah,
it
got it.
takes.
That's what I thought. So, give you how much time do you have? This could be a longer conversation, but I would just say a couple of So one of the things is that I mean, to be honest, it's not, especially in this day and age. There's like if you if you, Alisa, or anybody listening to this want to do their own live event, it doesn't have to be super complicated. You can have people over at your house, or these days there's a lot of cool Airbnbs that you could rent that might not be super expensive, that you could probably actually have a nice event with around 8 to 12 people, kind of like a nice, mastermind type event. So producing that kind of event is it's really not difficult at all. It's really just about, deciding on a date, booking this space, and then inviting some people to come over. I mean, if you have 2 people, you essentially have a group, right? So it doesn't have to be this really crazy thing. My first ever live event, um, this was back in 2017. At the beginning of 2017, my mentor at the time, he basically said, if I were you, I would do an in-person live event. I would charge, at least $5,000 to $10,000 for it, where you tell people all of your super marketing secrets. And I was like, oh wow, that really intimidated me. I would never consider this. And that was in 2000. That was February of 2017 when I got that advice. I was so afraid to do an event that I didn't actually do the event, and it didn't actually happen until October of that year. I basically spent like whatever it is, like 8 months, just kind of like procrastinating on it because I was afraid and all those kinds of things. And then, long story short, I ended up getting 7 people came. They paid $5,000 each, and it ended up being a really cool experience. We got this hotel conference room, and it all worked out really well. And then after that, I realized it was a big upgrade. If you've never done a live event before, even for me, it was only 7 people, but for me, this was a really big deal. For me at the time, it was like it could have been 100 people as far as I was concerned. But anyways, I really just felt like I kind of like became a better version of myself from that experience. So, point I was getting at, just point I'm getting there is for anybody who's thinking about doing a live event, I would say just if it's exciting to you, do it, and you are going to find it's. We were talking about personal growth. Like there are few um, personal growth experiences better than running your own live events for a variety of reasons. So that's one thing. Second thing is as far as like best practices for running live events, I'll give you two specific tips, and this is like literal inside baseball type things that I wouldn't but I don't I usually only tell these things in my paid programs, if I'm being totally honest with you. But a couple tips if you're running, and I'm again my specialty is running smaller ish type events, not these big live events. Two really important practices, and it's kind of obvious as after I mention them. One of them is for live events. If you're running a live event, in order to give people a great experience, one thing you want to do is you want to give people lots and lots and lots of time to connect. What you're going to find, you can't really do this, unfortunately, but if you're getting cool people together, if you're getting a good group of people together, it's actually true. You cannot sell this, unfortunately, but it's actually true that you actually probably could. If all you do is get together, 5, 10, 15, 20 cool people, you could essentially just like get 15, 20 people together. Hey, we're all going to be hanging out. We're going to be staying at this hotel. We're going to be hanging out in this conference room for 3 days. And you could have no programming, no content, no activities. You just get a cool group, time to hang out for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. They're going to have a good time, independent of the content. But of course, we have to like sell, give them like, oh, you're going to learn all these amazing things. The point I'm getting at is like almost every event I do, I almost always um, overload too much training, too much content because you want to wow them with all these kinds of things. So it's after every event that in hindsight, it would be way better to do way less content and give more people time to connect. And if you're teaching people something like I'm doing business workshops, essentially, giving them more time to implement stuff. So really less actual stuff for them to learn, more time for them to connect and implement, to connect and create. That is the one best practice I would give. The second best practice is it's funny to say this, but really maybe the most important thing to do if you want to give people a great experience in live events, you want to feed them well. This is like the most important thing.
Oh my God,
Make,
yes.
make
Nutritious, healthy, energy sustaining food. Is
I
this what you're
mean,
saying?
I'm not necessarily saying that. No, I'm saying I'm like a healthy, conscious person. That's what my clients are do. So I do give them, yeah, healthy food options for sure. But I, there's other types of people that have events where it doesn't have, how do I say it? There are certain audiences that are not so into healthy food. They just like to eat good food,
Right.
which might not necessarily be healthy, if that makes
I
sense.
see.
So
Yeah, yeah,
the,
yeah.
the point I'm getting at is that obviously, there's a lot of good nutritious food, but really basically you want to feed people good. Don't try to save money on food on food. This is the most important thing. The more you feed people, take them out to dinners and things like that, they're going to be so happy. All the magic happens at the dinner table practically or during meals. So again, as long as if you get people together and you feed them well, you know, it, that's literally 80 at least 80% of the battle, maybe more.
Right on. So I know these aren't the lyrics, but this is the song that's coming to mind is feed your students well, and so they go by. I forget what song that's based on, but it's definitely something I grew up with. That's really cool to hear. Also, it helps me, I feel like it helps me get out of my head a bit around like I have to be the star of the show because I love what you said there about gathering cool people and letting them
Mhm.
connect. Like
Mhm.
that I think is what this world is hungry for at large. It's places for people to gather, whether that's virtual or in person or whatever. It's having connection in a world full of increasing disparities, in a world
Mhm.
full of increasing places to argue, right? Having a space for people to connect and engage and to do so in a, with positive momentum and having time to implement and create together. I think that's the glue, that's the band-aid for all of the craziness that's going on in our world.
Absolutely, yeah. People are more disconnected than ever these days with kind of all the social media, with all the apps, and yeah, they're really looking for that in-person connection. So there's definitely an opportunity there if you are excited about it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for sharing some wisdom from the road. I appreciate you opening the kimono and giving us a little inside peek. But for all intents and purposes, I love that you embody the growth that it takes as a human being to also then put it into practice in business. Because I heard from your story, I was in bro marketing and I had to balance that out and be more humane. And then I learned the lessons from the road that I can turn around and give people a hand up that
Hmm.
are traveling the same road. So, who are the types of folks that should be banging down your door right now? How do you describe the transition that you address when someone comes knocking at your door?
Yeah, yeah. So most of my clients, most of them are, as I mentioned before, most of them are females. Most of them are coaches of some sort. A lot of business coaches, a lot of people that help people with business. Like they might help people, like they might be book coaches, they might help people with speaking, they might help people with social media or whatnot. And yeah, a lot of people come to me. Most of my clients, they're ambitious. They're really ambitious. They're not exactly those the woo type people that just want to hang out and meditate and things like that. Although they do like those kinds of things. They're ambitious people, but they also really do enjoy business. They do want to show up and do the work, but they're looking for that kind of like strategic guidance that I can give them. It's like they might be making a couple $100,000 a year and they don't quite see the path to kind of getting to a million and beyond. So that's why they come to me.
Yeah. And with all that bro marketing experience, right? Translating that into something that's customized and that fits their personality. Like, is that something bespoke about what you're up to? Is really understanding them and showing them how they
Yeah, yeah,
personally
for
can
sure. A
weave with
lot of
it?
what I do, yeah, a lot of what I do is very customized. I don't really have like a one size fits all solution that I bring everybody through for sure.
High five on that. I think we are moving into a world where things are more often customized than not because, hey, I'm in my 40s. We watched a world go from artisan to industrial like almost overnight in our lifespan. And there's a hunger from our generation forward to say, you know what? There's value in this bespoke nature in applying things as they're appropriate for people because I find out there's gurus and courses galore where you can follow somebody else's trajectory and path and you're going to wind up with your ladder up against their building at the top looking at a sunset view that's not yours.
Yeah,
So
good one.
you know curating experiences for people I think is paramount. So I know that there's a whole lot of demand for that out there. I'm so grateful to know you and know that you create spaces like that. So if anyone here has sparked and wants to connect with you after hearing you speak a little bit here on Rise and Shine, where can they go to find more about you, Ron?
Yeah, great ways to connect with me would really just be to find me on Facebook. Just I do a lot of things on my personal Facebook profile.
Mhm.
So yeah, so if you I'll give actually a special gift to those listening to this. If you're listening to this, go find me on Facebook as me add me as a friend. I will imagine you'll have a link to my Facebook profile in the below this podcast or somewhere on the page.
Yeah.
And yeah, add me and send me a DM on Facebook and I'll actually give you access to my $500 50K in 50-day course, absolutely free as a special gift to listeners of the Rise and Shine podcast.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. High five, man. Value galore coming out of our mouths here today. I appreciate some of the ebbs and flows of, being a business owner and being a parent, and also, walking your own talk and being on the growth trajectory so that you have tools that are constantly being developed and emerging for a world that continues to change. You know, the world needs folks like us to be on
Mhm.
the front and to say, hey, it's not that scary out here, this change thing. Let me show you, piece at a time based on where you're at.
That's right. One foot in
So
front of the other, 100%.
yeah, right on. So we are birds of a feather. Ron, thanks so much for coming and participating and hanging out, playing full out here today. I'm sure this will not be the last time, but in the meantime, folks, we broadcast every single Monday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. So click like, subscribe, leave us a comment on what was most powerful and impactful for you here in today's conversation so that we know what to address the next time we get together. Savvy?
All right.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
See you soon. Same bat time and same bat channel.